This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. All right, welcome to Hot Takes, the show where I hear your hot takes in the comment section and reply to them in video format. A ton of hot takes to get through. Let's start with Big Racing Dog 466. See what he has to say. I hope Barry realizes he has to clean out the quarterback room entirely before the start of next season. Sign a reclamation project like Mac Jones or Malik Willis. Sign a generic veteran career backup. Throw a mid-round prospect at a guy like Haynes King. Any one of these guys is better prospect than Gabriel Sanders or DTR when they came. Whoa. Haynes King is not a better prospect than Shador or Dillon, in my opinion. I'll be honest there. I've watched a lot of Haynes King, dog. I go to them Georgia Tech games. I'm telling you right now. No. Not as an NFL quarterback? No. I would not go that far. Maybe I'm wrong, but would not go that far. And then, again, he does the thing where he has like a bunch of positions that he wants to take quarterbacks here. I don't know, man. This feels like a waste of time to like clear out the whole quarterback room just to draft another quarterback in the third round. Like, I think Dillon Gabriel, Shador Sanders, they give you day 3 quarterback energy right now. Like, you might as well keep them. I don't see the need to just wipe the roster of them completely. It feels kind of pointless. Especially if you're only bringing in like Mac Jones or Malik Willis. Like, if you maybe would have a better time convincing me if like the plan was, hey, we're gonna go trade the house and get Mendoza and get Dante Moore. And if you want to get rid of Shador or Dillon because of that, okay, cool, that makes sense. But if we're signing Jones, dog, like, what are we doing? Like, we don't got to clear the house for Mac Jones, dog, or Malik Willis. Like, we don't even know if they're going to be good. Like, Mac Jones could easily suck. I know he had a decent year in San Francisco, but have we not seen those smoke and mirrors go other places and not work out? I mean, I saw him with the Jaguars last year. He wasn't very impressive. I saw him at the end of his New England run. He wasn't very impressive. As far as Malik Willis is concerned, we don't even know if he's going to be good. We're just hoping he's going to be good because we've watched like 3 games and he was good in those 3 games. Neither of these guys are so good that you feel so secure about the quarterback position that you just like have a fire sale behind them. I think that would be crazy. Like, if you should probably hang on to Dillon Gabriel and Shador Sanders if you're going after Mac Jones and fucking Malik Willis. No disrespect to Mac Jones. Well, no disrespect to Malik Willis, but you know, just gonna be honest there. Like, I'm not emptying the quarterback room because I got Malik Willis in free agency. Like, I think he has upside as a prospect and he's interesting, but he could very easily get benched in like 3 weeks if he's like, if things don't work out. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I feel like we're adding more security there with these guys than what's actually there, you know? As far as like the draft strategy goes, again, they got to make picks that make sense for what slot they're in. I think if they can't go up for quarterback, they probably trade back at 6 to get a wide receiver, and then maybe they move up from 28. But we'll see. We'll see where that pick ends up too, right? If they jump the 4 spots because Jacksonville loses this week, I think that could be significant as well. Next hot take comes from Daryl, who says this. They made him fire Van Pelt. I think losing Callahan, Van Pelt, and Stubb collectively ruined our offense. Changing everything for Deshaun Watson ruined for offense, as well as paying and trading for him. Yeah, I think the paying and trading for him part has more of an argument here They changed everything over to Deshaun Watson, but they immediately changed it back the year after. So, yeah, that might be able to explain 2024, but it doesn't explain 2025 for Kevin Stefanski. And I'm just going to be real honest here. If firing Kevin Stefanski, losing an offensive line coach, and losing a running back coach, not Kevin Stefanski, firing Alex Van Pelt, losing an offensive line coach, and losing a running backs coach was all it took to ruin Kevin Stefanski's offense. You really got to ask yourself, how good was Kevin to begin with? Because Alex Van Pelt's a journeyman offensive coordinator. He's nothing special. Stump Mitchell's a journeyman running backs coach. From what I hear from people who have played under him, there's mixed opinions about him as a coach. And then Bill Callahan, there's a lot of respect out there for Bill. Bill's a good coach, but he's not he shouldn't be this unmovable Jenga block for your offense. Like, if your offense was that fragile to where losing those three pieces legitimately took the whole thing out, then you got to ask yourself, did you really even build anything worthwhile? Wow. If it could just topple down that easily, I think that's my big question there. Expensive Freedom says this: if I'm an offensive head coach, I find it comforting that the defense is already built. That means the resources can go towards building my offense. Not much chance I get fired in 2 years because they failed to build a defense to back up my offense. That's real. That's real. There is a real chance that you get fired in 2 years because you don't have a good enough quarterback to meet expectations. But I think that the defense does provide some comfort in the fact that the organization is saying to an offensive-minded guy, this is where the money goes, makes it an attractive offer. I think to defensive coordinators, Myles Garrett is as good as, if you're a defensive coordinator and you're trying to go somewhere where you feel like your strengths can shine, the job with Myles Garrett's going to be very attractive because that's the best defensive player in football by a huge margin, right? I think I was talking to JP Acosta about this, and he was like, the gap between Myles Garrett and the second best defensive player in football is larger than the gap between the best offensive player in football and the second best offensive player in football. Like, that's how good Myles is at his position. If people don't think that's going to attract some interesting names for the defensive side of the ball, I think it's really going to be helpful if they hire an offensive mind. They need a new defensive coordinator. There are going to be a lot of people interested in taking the Browns DC job because it has Myles Garrett. And ultimately, I think that's why Jim Schwartz would probably be willing to stick around even if things don't go his way with the head coaching hire, because where's he going to go that has everything that he wants, right? Other than Cleveland, which has spent the last 3 years giving Jim Schwartz everything he wants. The next question, the next hot take is from Guitar Player, but real quick, I'm going to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. Real quick, just want to let you guys know Sleeper has a new offer here. They're offering a free $20 entry, no deposit required. And also, if you're a first-time user, you also will receive a 100% match on up to $100 when you use the promo code Worst Take. Again, $20 free, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Join Sleeper. All right, Guitar Player says this: notice how the narrative shifted from Stefanski needs done to the Browns are firing a coach that every team with the opening wants to interview. It was a mistake. Here's what I'll say. Just because people are interested in hiring Kevin does not mean that the Browns did not have legitimate reason to want to fire Kevin, right? The same thing could be said with the Ravens, right? Did the Ravens not have a legitimate reason to fire John Harbaugh? Everybody wants to interview John Harbaugh, but did the Ravens not have a good reason to let him go ultimately? Sometimes things do not work out, and it's not because you think the coach is a terrible person or a terrible coach. It's because you don't think the coach is the right coach for that moment that you need to go through. And oftentimes, it's possible that you can move on for somebody and find better. So, yeah. Did New York want to interview Kevin Stefanski? Sure. Don't know if they're going to hire him, but they want to interview Kevin. Did Atlanta want to interview Kevin? Sure. I don't know if they're going to hire him, but, they wanted to interview him. And I don't know if we want to take it a step further. Like, are we sure that Kevin's going to work out the New York job, given everything he struggled with in Cleveland? The same thing with the Atlanta Falcons job. We'll see what happens with Kevin Stefanski. I hope he lands on his feet and he has a good rest of his career, because I don't think he's a bad coach. But I do think Kevin demonstrated himself to have limitations that were no longer acceptable for where the Cleveland Browns wanted to be, especially when it comes to the player development side. Like, he just had kind of stalled out there, especially when it comes to the passing game and the run game and expected points and everything with him. There's a good reason why the Browns let him go, and it's justifiable at the end of the day. And just because other teams want to interview him does not erase that is the case. Jord the Nord says this: we gave Kevin plenty of time to right the ship. He led the dead last offense in 2024, brought him back only to improve to the 31st ranked offense in 2025. That's dependent on what stats you look at. There's a lot of numbers that indicate that the Browns are still number 32. Point remains, though, right? The biggest excuse I see is that Kevin didn't have the personnel he needed to succeed. There are half-truths in that statement. Notice offense wasn't going to be anywhere close to top 10, but there was enough talent to not be bottom of the barrel. Warren Lucas, Cam Robinson, Jack Conklin, Tevin Jenkins, Wyatt Teller, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, David Njoku all fell off a cliff in 2025. That many impact players woefully underperforming is a big indicator that the coach is not getting the most out the players. His offensive staff is garbage. I like Kevin as a person, want to succeed wherever he goes, but it was time for him to leave Cleveland 100%. Yeah, this is pretty much where I land with Kevin. The truth is, when we came into this season, we knew what the roster was, and we didn't expect the offense to be just as bad as 2024, right? Like that's the part that gets lost when people are like, well, the personnel wasn't good. And what did people expect? It's like people expected this to be better this year because they said that they were going to lean on Kevin Stefanski's strengths and bet on what Kevin does and bet on his ability as a coach and his ability to provide you a floor. That's what we spent the whole offseason signing players for, drafting players for, and telling the fans that they were going to do. They were going to bet on Kevin Stefanski. They kept talking about it. That Kevin gives them a floor when they're doing what Kevin does, and that they have to have that floor. They did not have that floor. They were just as bad as they were last year. So once it became clear that he wasn't providing that floor anymore offensively, you got to move on. Because he hasn't just been bad the last couple of years. These offenses have been historically bad for 2 seasons in a row. I don't know how you can justify keeping him after that point. If he had the 25th ranked offense this year, I would have been banging the table to keep Kevin Stefanski. I would have been on this channel making a passionate plea that Kevin should stay here because he's getting what the offense is expected to get, which is like 25th in the NFL. But being 32nd for 2 years in a row is just unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. There's no way around it. It's just not. It's not. And it's like the Browns aren't just 32nd in some of these stats, man. They're 32nd with a significant gap between 32 and 31. I would have been willing to defend him if he could have gotten to like 26, maybe even 28th ranked offense. Maybe I could have defended 28th ranked offense. They probably would have won like 7 games if they were 28th ranked offense. I would have defended it. I'd have been like, no, Kevin's giving you a floor. The roster's bad. We're going to add more players to it. He's going to get better. But what we've seen is like, hey man, you spent the whole offseason betting on Kevin Stefanski, betting on his style, bringing in players in free agency into the draft to improve that style, and you got to be just as bad as you were the year prior when you were leaning into the Deshaun Watson stuff. Zachary says this: I think Corley deserves to be on the team no matter what. Yeah, I agree with this. Corley's been awesome. That's a good take. That's a good take. My man GC says the difference between the Ratbirds the difference between the Ratbirds getting great decision. Now they can go win the Super Bowl they deserve, and we get LOL Browns is Browns. Kevin deserves better. When it comes to the reaction to firing coaches that people also want to interview, yeah, it's kind of funny to me, right? Like, everybody else gets the understanding that, hey, man, he got fired for specific reasons and it makes sense. But let the Browns do something to try to improve themselves, or something that's not in the aspiration of mediocrity, and then everybody loses their fucking mind. Red Right 88 says, I'd rather have the Browns move up and overpay some to the Raiders or Jets than take Simpson at the bottom of the first. They've done this before with Whedon, Manziel, and not one lasted long and wasted the pick. You got to throw in Whedon, Manziel, and Brady Quinn. Brady Quinn's on that list too. Sit the rookie and worry about winning in 2027 with another draft. Either way, Browns are going to suck in 2026. But if you go into 2027 with the top of the draft QB that sat like Mahomes did, team is 2 drafts away. I don't know. I don't know if they're 2 drafts away. I think the defense can provide them a high enough floor if they have decent quarterback play to where they could, be pretty good next year. But we'll see. Things have to go right here. I agree with you that I'd rather move up than take another quarterback in the 20s, right? Like Ty Simpson at pick 24, it just gives you too much deja vu of all the other quarterbacks we took in the 20s. Now, that being said, I have to do more work on Ty Simpson to see if he fits the profile that Quinn and Whedon and Manziel. Oh, you put Quinn in there. My bad. I thought you didn't put Quinn in there. But yeah, I got to do some work to see if he fits that profile. But it would make me nervous inherently because the history of this franchise, taking quarterbacks in the late first round, taking quarterbacks in the second, third, fourth, it's just kind of all led to waste of times here, right? And I think that's the biggest issue with the Browns as a franchise is the lack of commitment to the quarterback position in 25 years, and just constantly trying to play it safe at the quarterback position instead of taking actual risk. So, yeah, I would be concerned. What's interesting is if you go back and look at the Browns' history over the last 10 years, they've never been good at EPA. That's wrong, by the way. I looked that up. They were good at EPA in 2020, 2021, and 2022. So last 3 years in a row, they were pretty good at EPA. They were positive EPA per expected points team. You know what changes this? A quality quarterback. The blame is there, definitely goes to Stefanski, but the underlying issue is there will always be an inability to find a quarterback that can start 10 plus years. Stefanski with the consistent quarterback play, even average quarterback play in the league, 4-time playoff appearance coach. There's no doubt in my mind. We just ran them off because we didn't draft the freaking quarterback. I would say this. One, if Kevin were demonstrating himself to be able to provide some kind of floor, which he did in 2022. He did not in 2023, 24, and 25, right? Well, 23, somewhat of a floor. I would say 23, he provided a floor, actually. I'll correct that. 24 and 25, he did not provide a floor for the team. And yeah, is it difficult to find a quality quarterback? Yes. Are we confident about the work that Kevin has done with the quarterbacks that he's had here in Cleveland, though? Enough to say that Kevin would have been able to identify and develop his quarterback. That's where I have concerns with. Kevin, again, he's a solid coach. If he goes somewhere with an established quarterback, I think he can be good. I think the issue with Kevin is he's not the offensive architect that he maybe was hoping to be. He needs to delegate that offensive stuff off more to more people. And sometimes he can be a bit stubborn, right? I don't think he's incapable of being a good coach, but if you look at what the Browns need right now, you also got to ask yourself the question about player development. It hasn't been great on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's good for a team that's ready to win. Like if Kevin took the Baltimore job, I would actually think that would be a sneaky good hire for Baltimore. But what he's not going to be great for is a team that needs to develop, right? A team that needs to grow. Kevin's a really good coach for a team that's ready to win, but for a team that needs to get to that place and develop to that place, I don't think he's good at that. And I think it's been proven over the last couple of years. Y'all let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Everybody have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.